Those who are willing to rip up the constitutional precedent to promote a pro-life agenda should embrace constitutional precedent that allows us to promote a pro-life agenda that the vast majority of the American people endorse. Gun violence now tops car accidents as the leading cause of death of children in America. Mr. Chairman, in the midst of this continuing bloodbath, something extraordinary among nations on earth, we meet to consider legislation that is supported by the vast majority of the American people who favor a universal violent criminal background check for all firearm purchases by a remarkable 89% margin. That means 9 out of 10 Americans support it. No matter what we suggest to end the slaughter in our schools, our movie theaters, our churches, our synagogues, our streets, they claim the Second Amendment forbids it. But this is a blatant misreading and misrepresentation of the Second Amendment. In DC versus Heller, the Supreme Court said the Second Amendment does not create an absolute and unlimited right to gun ownership, but rather a right to have a handgun in your home for purposes of self-defense and a right to long guns for purposes of hunting and recreation. But the Second Amendment right itself is subject to reasonable regulation in the interests of public safety and public security. And the same people willing to overthrow 50 years of Supreme Court precedent on the constitutional right to privacy in order to advance what they call a pro-life agenda that most Americans reject will not even accept what the Supreme Court has actually said about the Constitution and reasonable gun safety regulation in order to promote a pro-life agenda that the vast majority of American people support. We have had nearly 1,000 school shootings since 2012 in the last decade, 1,000 of them. The police chiefs of America, who are strong proponents of gun safety legislation to protect both our people and our police, and to keep a sea of firearms out of the hands of criminals, have been strong supporters of a ban on assault weapons since 1992. But that doesn't move our Republican colleagues who often describe themselves as supporters of the police. Our gun violence rate is 22 times greater than it is in Europe and 23 times the rate of firearm homicide seen in Australia. We've been demanding that our colleagues get serious about gun violence and public safety since the Columbine High School massacre on April 20th, 1999, when 2 young gunmen murdered a dozen students in broad daylight. At least since then, we've been demanding serious gun safety legislation since the Sandy Hook massacre in Newtown, Connecticut on December 14th, 2012, when a gunman assassinated 20 children and 6 adults.
I'm representing my constituents. In rural Colorado, an AR-15 is a gun of choice for killing raccoons before they get to our chickens. It is a gun of choice for killing a fox. It is a gun that you control predators on your ranch, on your farm, on your property.